The Irish and the Germans, cousins of old. A glance at language and history shared by Irish and German people, noting links to Hindus, Iranians, and... Introduction. Na Colua de Fio, Irish for the Living Communities, is a body of skilled volunteers who in this production present certain Irish and German cultural connections. Folklore, however, also calls for a recognition of connections with Ondawan Hoa, the Eastern world, covering India and Iran. Therefore, both East and West are brought together here to form an ancient history background for ecotourism in the Mayo Gaeltacht Irish-speaking area in Ireland. Celtic culture, called Gaelic culture in Ireland, is one of the anchor cultures of Europe, nurturing values in learning, discipline and morality. In a reflection of greater things, once part of Gaelic society, Irish sporting heroes and performing artists are still accorded heroic status. From before and after written records began, the Gaelic order or civilization interacted with the continent. Gaelic connections with France began during historic times. The French connection was one of trade, religion and alliance. Irish, mostly spoken in the official Gaeltacht, evolved with German in ancient times. The niche market for this project is therefore primarily France and Germany. Irish links to ancient Indo-European cultures like German, Hindi and Iranian are celebrated in this production, not only to promote ecotourism, but also to support understanding and harmony between peoples. French and English, relatively recent mixtures of old Indo-European languages, are not covered by the current analysis. Early French dialects, variously composed of Latin, Breton, Celtic, and German, were not mutually intelligible. A standard was adopted in Paris at the start of the 20th century. The resulting language quickly became predominant. English was originally based on the speech of the Angles and Saxons, who came from Germany around 500 BC. Some 60% of the current vocabulary was borrowed over time, from Norse, French and other sources. By 1250 AD, most of the original grammar had been lost. The Indo-Europeans. Genetic analyses indicate that a group of people left Africa 80,000 years ago. Some of them went to South Asia. They migrated from there to become the ancestors of the rest of the world. An ice age struck the migrants. It lasted for 2,500 years to about 16,000 years ago. Overall human population fell. Some 20% of modern European genetic lines derived prior to present mass migration from Indo-Europeans. The remaining 80% came from other pre-glacial Europeans. Indo-Europeans not only survived the Ice Age, but had begun to thrive during it. Everywhere they went, their culture was adopted. It embraced religion, law, governance and military strength. Where was the original homeland, or Urheimat, of the Indo-Europeans as the ice retreated? Genetic and archaeological studies reported in 2003 by Stephen Oppenheimer, for example, in his book entitled Out of Africa's Eden, suggested it was in the present-day Ukraine, north of the Black Sea, south of Finland. From here, Indo-Europeans migrated, both to the east and to the west. Farthest west, the Gaeltacht became the most notable of the early homelands of this culture, and farthest east, it was India. Indo-Iranian tribes migrated eastwards from the Urheimat. King Yama, it is said, was the last king of these united tribes. Around 1800 BC, they split into Western Proto-Iranians and Eastern Indo-Aryans. Early Iranians comprised elements of the Scythians. The word Scot is derived from this name. Scot is an historic name used by the Irish, who migrated to Scotland in the 6th century. Germanic peoples migrated to northern and central Europe. The Celts migrated with them to Central Europe, where some stayed. Others continued on to Ireland, and yet others went south into the Balkans and Italy. Irish is today the closest of all the Celtic languages to ancient Celtic. We may look at a few similarities between Irish and German. All languages of a family share certain structures. It is the relative number of these in Irish and German which is important. They testified that these were the last mutually intelligible Indo-European languages on the western side. Irish and German, examples of how we both say it. 1. The Germans, as most of us know, can use long sentences and not reveal what they wish to say until the very last word, a verb which explains everything.
Ging nach Lenzburg, Schuhe in der richtigen Größe für seine Mutter zu kaufen.
He went to Lenzburg to buy shoes of the correct size for his mother. It takes 6 seconds before the listener knows why the journey to Lenzburg was undertaken. At international meetings, interpretation into other languages must wait until such sentences end. If Irish civil servants could speak better Irish, they would appreciate German idiom. He went to Cork to buy a fine pair of shoes of the correct size for his mother. In this case too, it takes 6 seconds to find out that he went to buy shoes for his mother. 2. The infinitive of a verb, for example, to speak or to see, may in both German and Irish be used to express the passive voice. The phrase "I was praised" is in the passive voice.
Ist meine Schwester zu sprechen, bitte?
May my sister be spoken with, please?
Ní raibh duine le feiscin sa tiopa.
Nobody was to be seen in the shop. 3. The Germans again have a penchant for speaking a while before their intention becomes clear. Here's a word comprising several nouns run together.
Dampfschifffahrtsgesellschaftsdirektor Stellvertreters Gemahlin.
The wife of the deputy manager of the steam navigation company. And as the Germans do, so too do the Irish. The nouns are not joined up when written. The administration of the school bus service for children of those people who speak an Irish language. 4. The Irish love to play with words, and for a grammarian, Irish is full of playful pranks. Let's see how a syllable may be recycled to get more for less.
Teacht.
To come.
Imacht.
To leave.
Teachta.
An envoy.
Teachtvar.
Suitable.
Teachtarat.
Message.
Teachtare.
Messenger. The Germans can also do more with less, in an environmentally friendly way.
Sprechen.
To speak.
Widersprechen.
To contradict.
Gespräch.
Conversation.
Fernsprecher.
Telephone.
Fürsprecher.
Intercessor.
Zwiegespräch.
Dialogue. Celtic and Germanic tribes lived as neighbours up to Roman times. The Celts left their mark in place names. For example, the name of Fionn is embedded in Wien or Vienna. The Alps are named with a Celtic word. Alp in Irish means protrusion or mountain. Bregenz was called after the sun goddess Brigid. Again, in folklore, the hero Streng of the Fir Bullock, a mystical tribe, has a purely German name. It marks out a basic characteristic of his people: discipline. Many Germans know about their Celtic heritage. The mainstays of Gaelic identity are, however, lost. Up to the famine, the Irish took considerable trouble to pass on their heritage to their children. They did this though their civilization had been destroyed and their nobility had fled. Operating under English law, their landlords took possession of cash crops, so the starving Irish people finally bowed to the pressures upon them. They adopted the English language and culture. Personal and place names were anglicised, with a total loss of the meanings of these. In cases of extreme hardship, people dropped the hallowed Loch or Nick and O or Ni from their family names, just to appear more English. they lost all confidence. Memories of their continental and eastern origins faded. Linguistic uniformity had been carefully nurtured in the kingdoms of the historic Gaeltacht, which covered Ireland, Scotland and the Isle of Man. Irish and Scots Gaelic are still fairly close. Irish and German links, however, have carefully to be identified. Shared grammar provides substantive evidence of a common cultural evolution. Shared vocabulary also helps in this. Irish and German have many words with the same root syllable. A few examples are given below. In two of these, the letter S, probably from an old Indo-European prefix, remains attached to the syllable. First the Irish word, then the related German word.
Door.
Stupid,
Der Tor,
fool,
Fadder.
long,
der Faden,
thread,
Foss.
grow,
wachsen,
to grow,
Lauert.
to speak,
labern,
to prattle,
Last.
load,
die Last,
load,
Loch.
lake,
das Loch,
hole,
Main.
mind,
die Meinung,
opinion,
Puck.
goat,
der Bock,
billy goat,
Clearchan.
a crow,
sprechen,
to speak, go on like a crow,
Riddere.
knight,
Ritter,
horseman,
Smacht.
discipline,
die Macht,
power,
Summer.
happy,
schön,
beautiful,
Tach.
house,
das Dach,
roof. Although rarely, a word can mean the complete reverse of what it is in the other language. It may perhaps have happened where a prefix, which reversed the meaning, was lost. Fragra means answer in Irish. Fraga means question in German. Of course, one might also say that after negotiations with the Germans, the Celts would think they had a done deal, but the Germans would continue to look for the devil in the detail. Irish, Hindu and certain German links in religion and in vocabulary. Many place names commemorate Kali. She is a Hindu goddess, once known to all Indo-Europeans. Around 2,000 years ago, just up the coast of Tuan Huiron, Mayo, some wandering Celts named a rock stack Anhaliach after this goddess. She has been loosely called the Hag by authors in English. The Irish Kaya means a veil. In Old Irish, Kayach means veiled one. She is properly the veiled woman, shrouding the mysteries of life. Of course, Kali is the goddess of death, but she is also a mother figure, proclaiming the circle of life. The Indo-European sun goddess Bridget, or Breed in Irish, was adopted as a saint by early Irish Christians. St. Bridget's cross, in fact a sun symbol, may be seen in different forms in India, Egypt, Sicily and elsewhere. Gaelic Brehon laws have similarities with Hindu law. A number of scholars writing in English have failed to grasp the incisive and liberal content of Gaelic law. For example, respect and standing accorded to women contributed to a stable society. Covering a wide geographical area, including remote mountain ranges and islands, the laws were structured similarly to the code, the Great Jasa, of Genghis Khan in the 1300s AD. They were suited to operations where regular communication on legal precedents would have been difficult. Irish and Hindi have many words with the same Indo-European root syllable. A number of examples is given below, with some equivalents in German being noted. First the Irish word, then the related Hindi and German words.
Bar.
Top,
Bada.
great,
Power.
deaf,
Behra.
deaf,
Kill.
church,
Killa.
fort,
Kille,
Church,
wie im Schweizerdeutschen.
Kroi.
Heart,